This is a lot more people than last time, so we're just like Fight Club. We're getting there. Yeah, like last time I said, it's just like Fight Club, except it's the total opposite. Where tell everyone. Those are the first two rules, just to make sure this continues and picks up. Thanks for coming. I think this mic might be dying. We'll find out. I appreciate you guys coming out. This is the second monthly music meeting for the Oasis, and we've been fortunate enough to have a couple of pretty awesome sponsors. First off, Antioch Towing. They paid for the pizza that you guys demolished so quickly. Well done. Well done. And then we're fortunate enough to have Top Shelf Records send us a box of awesome stuff. So if you haven't checked it out, go grab some stickers and CDs and other good stuff. And if you ask Zach, an Oasis employee here, nicely, we have some fun stuff from Polyvinyl left over from last month, which is cool. Oh, did you take it all?
No, I didn't take it all.
We put it in a box. There's some. Okay, well, it's back there. I can find it later. You guys are here tonight because you are interested in booking. And the reason we're doing this is because we've had some interesting emails come into the Oasis over the last 4 or 5 years about people who want to book shows. And it shocks me. It really shocks me because all those emails come through me. I might not answer them, but they still come through me. It shocks me what people think are a good idea to put in an email in hopes to get a show, or what not to put in an email. We'll get an email and it's just like 11 words. It's like, please, can I book a show? It's like, are you a band? Are you what exactly do you do? What kind of show are you hoping to do? Cool. Are we good schedule wise? Do you want to do this now, or you want to switch up or do it later? Okay. We real quick, we're gonna do a bit of a surprise guest speaker, and we're gonna pass a microphone around for you guys to have or to answer some questions. This is Dean. He plays bass in a band called Chevelle. So if you guys have questions, you can steal this one. I was going to toss the microphone. No, I'll let you handle this. All right, thanks for doing this.
So just for the sake of introduction, Dean and Sam and Keith, the three guys at Chevelle, have been, thank you very much. Do I need that? Have been really helpful with getting the Oasis going. My very first phone call in 2003 was actually to Pete, who is the lead singer, and he called me back on Easter Sunday and said, "What's up?" I said, "I have this idea. Let's build a teen center and build it around music." And he said, "You're out of your mind, but you should do that." And so they've all been really helpful.
That's what he says to everybody, by the way.
Some things never change. He still thinks I'm crazy. But Dean was kind enough this evening to drop by for a few minutes to kind of give you a glimpse of what it's like on the other side of the road when you're on the road, because they spend a lot of time touring, as you're probably aware, and they've played with some pretty amazing bands. And they've run into a lot of obstacles and learned how to work around them. So we're going to give you the opportunity to actually talk to him for a few minutes. Thank you for coming, Dean.
I hope I can help.
You can help.
Yeah, is there anything you want to start with before or just want to field some questions?
I think this place is great. I've never been in here, and it's rad. Glad you guys all came. Cool.
Sweet. Anyone have any questions? I'll pass the mic.
Wow. You guys all shut down.
Yeah.
Oh, I see a Halverson out there. I know, you're a metal guy. What? Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah.
See, that was metal right there. That was good. So come on, don't be shy. Ask me anything. I don't care.
Okay, I'll start it off. I know, but before Chevelle, you were still playing a ton of shows in and around Chicago. What kind of advice can you give kids when they're trying to actively climb climb the ladder in the Chicago scene? I know it's probably a little different now than it was then, but what was the process that you went through?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's probably totally different now, but back then we all were under the delusion that, it was all about your demo. And that's not really the case. It's more about playing shows and getting people out to your shows, getting them to come back and going back to those clubs and kind of trying to reach out in that area, trying to branch out a little bit. Because the more time you spend in the studio, the less time you're out there, kind of representing. And people are going to remember your live show probably more, than anything. Try to make it like an event. That was it's kind of the way it was told to us, and we didn't really get it, And for most bands, it actually happens on accident. So, if you try to make it an event, I don't mean like clown shoes and, bowling pins. But I mean like...
That's too bad, because that's what I was going to do.
Hey, that might work. I mean, But, yeah, try to make it something that people look forward to. And, there's it's kind of an energy surrounding it, And music's an art, so there's no definitive way to do it, You got to be creative and do something that someone else hasn't done,
Oh, I know. Anyone? Questions?
Who here has toured? Who has ever gotten in the van not knowing where they're going to sleep and headed out to play a show? So maybe we could maybe Dean can help a little bit on what it's like to plan a tour.
Sleeping in vans is where you learn how to tour. And people that you don't know's living room floors. I see him shaking his head.
I suppose I got another question. These days, I'm sure you see tons of bands, smaller bands, kind of slowly but surely climb up, and they hope, at least for a smaller, like mid-level local band, they hope to attempt to open up a show for a larger band. What's the likelihood that they would end up, Chevelle or otherwise? What are the odds, and what is the process that those openers kind of get those spots?
Well, to be honest, the ugly truth is that when you're on a label, your label has a lot of other bands, and they have a lot of favors that they owe to people. And a lot of times you end up getting bands pulled from the backyard, so to speak, meaning the same bands that aren't on that label, or bands that they are looking to sign, so they're trying to promote them, and by doing so, they put you in front of a band that either they have or whatever, Another way is if they owe a favor from another favor that someone did them for another band. So we're in a particular position where we can actually pull bands that we like. The band's been going for 16, 17 years. I don't even know. I've been with them for 10. And, we get a list of bands, usually about maybe 2 sheets long, and we'll listen to most of the music and a lot of the bands we've heard before, and we end up usually going with a band that's not on the list, because they're cool and they're different, and they're not being pushed. So it's really, it's the same thing. It's if it's not a favor and you're not under the same label, you're gonna have to work for it. You're gonna have to play like what this is. You guys are all getting together and sharing information, and you guys all play in bands. It's kind of networking, and that's the best way to do it. There's no right or wrong way to do it unless you're under a label, and
And there's plenty.
It's
of wrong ways to do
ugly.
it.
It's the ugly truth, but
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
I think the premise of these events, for the most part, are going to be kind of centralized around raining on parades and like these ideals, like, oh, we're totally going to open up for this band, or once this guy hears our demo, we're going to be able to, we're going to hit it big, or
Yeah, that's the scary part, because when you do a good demo, and and I hear so many awesome CDs that bands just, especially nowadays, you can record so well compared to the way it was. and they're still there in their living room, and it's like, you got to get out, that's where someone's going to see you. No one's going to take your demo and have you open a show if they don't know that you have some kind of street cred, because you could go to the show. You guys heard of a band called Pulse Ultra? Kind of an older band. They were a bit the same way. They kind of had an awesome demo, and the live show just wasn't doing it. They actually got signed for their demo, and the label got burnt. They spent a bunch of money on promotion. Then they started tours, and they were like falling off the tours, getting worse as they went on.
Yeah.
But it's only like that for a select few. But I mean, if you have a great demo and you're working hard, you can't beat that. But if you just do one or the other, it's got to be a happy medium between what you're good at, definitely.
Just a question for you. You have a record that's coming out in the next several days, correct?
Yeah, April 1st or 4th.
And I see a lot on social
First.
media about that. How do you feel about social media promotion in general? Do you think it's enough? Do you think it is everything, or is that just a piece?
Social media promotion is a little bit like walking with a blindfold through a park at this point for the band members, because we don't really know what's going on. I know that just today, for an example, they released one of our songs, the second song, on Facebook or on Vivo, and I didn't even know it was getting released, but the label released it, and it was supposed to be, and after looking into it, it was supposed to be a release for like the people that pre-ordered the record. So it was kind of an incentive. As soon as when you get closer to the record, for the select few that pre-ordered it, we're going to give you an extra song. That was their incentive. And what they did was they released it to everybody. So they just released it to everybody, and it was like, well, from my perspective and probably the fans' perspective, it's like, well, that was my incentive to like pre-order, and it just got released. But the reality is, as soon as they release anything, it gets ripped and it's out there anyway. So, after thinking about it, it's like, it doesn't really matter. As soon as any material is out there, especially now, it's ripped and it's out there. It doesn't matter. So promotion-wise, and we started doing this even 10 years ago, just when I was in like this band called Lift Point, we would just put it out. It didn't even matter. We didn't care about any labels or anything. We would just, if we did it, we'd try to sell them at shows, but like any way we could get it out, didn't matter. Just get it out there and then keep working, But yeah, you got to be crafty and you got to be creative with the way things are going now, and it definitely falls on your guys' shoulders, because it wasn't this hard back then, It wasn't even that long ago. I mean, it's 10 years, but
Making yourself sound really old.
I am old.
It in music industries is worse than dog years.
I'm old.
It's like cat years, right?
We got a question here.
On that note, with what you're kind of talking about, I don't need to make an official statement here, but what is your feeling these days about the role of a label? I know you guys have been doing it a long time, so maybe that's just what you're accustomed to, but for people who maybe aspire to thinking a label is the be-all, end-all, do you still agree with that notion?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. So the thing about a label is they're going to promote you because you're the product, and they really want to make some money off you, And the only way to do that is to promote you, and they usually have to spend a bunch of money, so they want to get that money back, so it's basically a loan. So, nowadays, you can do a lot of self-promotion, but at the same time, these companies that are really good at promoting, there's a lot of things that we don't know about, and the average guy doesn't know about. Like, say you have a Facebook page that has almost maybe 800,000, people on it, or you can send out. You have 800,000 emails, or even if you had 400,000 emails, you could send out and say, "We just got a new record, check it out," Here's one song. If you dig it, go to the site and you can buy another one. What ends up happening is, how the hell do you email that many people? You start thinking about it. You can only send I think it's 3,000 emails an hour. So when the number starts getting up there, it's like you got to hire somebody. So next thing you know, these little tiny things, you got to hire people for all these little things you didn't realize. You got to hire people, and before you know it, you were better off with someone taking charge of it. But it doesn't necessarily need to be a label. It could be a promotions company, or a distribution company, or good management. People that can control those type of things. Nowadays, something that's crazy to us is that they take your merch when you sign a label. You're taking your merch, living out of a van, sleeping in people's living rooms, and they take your merch too. It's like, you're not making anything. So you kind of got to be smart about it. It's like, so what are they going to do for me here? They're going to help me with promotions, but the contract's going to stipulate that, after 7 records or so, I'm going to be able to make that stuff back because I'm going to fulfill my contract. 7 records, that's so you figure a record maybe takes 2 years for a cycle to come, to tour off it and to write another one, roughly 2 years. So that's a long time, So signing a contract like that really puts you in handcuffs, and you got to look down the road, and you got to have that forethought and try to think about where you're going to be, how old you're going to be, So, yeah, I feel like Debbie Downer. I'm not trying to bring this place down, but
No, reality.
Yeah.
That's where people learn. That's
yeah,
perfect.
I think so. To make just one point about the whole thing, Joyce is trying to perform.
I'm sorry, my phone was guitar riffing. I'm going to cut you off, Dean, so that
Awesome.
Greg can do the program that he's worked on.
Okay.
But we really want to thank you, and we're going to give you an Oasis shirt, your very own
Oh.
Oasis shirt and Oasis sticker.
Great.
And April 1st, when Chevelle's new album comes out, I expect every one of you to be out there buying it, not stealing it.
I don't care. You can steal it. It just doesn't matter to me.
Also across the street, there is, at the museum, oddly enough, there is a Chevelle exhibit. So if you're ever so inclined, check out some of Dean's art, because Dean is not just a musician, he is truly an artist, and his art is fantastic.
Thank you, Joyce.
He's over there. His website is woodrelic.com. If you don't remember that, come and see me and I'll give it to you again. He's got some very interesting pieces for sale. And Dean is basically a locally grown guy. He's from Lake County. All the guys in Chevelle are from here. There's no reason that you can't make it just because you're from Lake County. It's all about all the things you talked about, being creative and being determined.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for hanging.
Well, that's fun. Hopefully, getting a more of a real life, so seeing a success story opens your eyes in terms of what the reality of a lot of that was. I thought it was pretty cool about the, how local openers end up on those larger scale bills. So to kind of go back to what we were talking about before, booking. We didn't really get to start on it, but the idea was, after the last meeting, we kind of fielded some questions, and there was a handful of questions about booking and how to get booked and all encompassing. So what I did after that last meeting is I started annoying every venue and booking agent in Chicago, in and around Chicago, and I kept it just to Chicago for now. And they initially, I think I probably annoyed them too much, but once they kind of understood the concept and that everyone wins when there's kind of a unified concept as to how to book, everyone was actually on board because they're sick of getting horrible emails like, I'm in a band, can I play Tuesday? So what I did is I asked all of them the same questions. and got some pretty interesting responses in terms of what they're looking for. There's a bunch of these sheets laying around back there. If you don't have one and you want one, you can go grab it. And if there's not enough, we can make more copies. I'll give you mine when I'm done. I just need to see it for now. Okay, so first things first. Venues that participated, we're fortunate, like Cobra Lounge, some back and forth with the talent buyer at Shuba's, but Shuba's is also Lincoln Hall, if you didn't know that, same owner, and they're also opening another venue, which is pretty cool. And I kept it to smaller venues, Beat Kitchen, Quenchers, Shuba's, Township, and the promoters. A lot of times what you're going to find is one promoter is going to work at all of them. So if you hope to get in at Subterranean, you might have to start playing a smaller gig at something like Quenchers and work your way up. So it's good to have a good relationship with those guys. So first up, contacting the venue or agent. They want emails. I know it sounds crazy. Tweets, cell phone calls, if you somehow got their number, Facebook messages. That's pretty frowned upon for the most part. Reason being is every venue, they all said the same thing. They want a paper trail, even if it's an paper trail, to where they have threaded email chains and they don't have to search 11 different places to find where their the contact or the back and forth email chain. So if you email a venue, chances are you've already improved your chances versus tweeting saying, "Hey Metro, what's up? Let me on that bill." That's not going to work. I know the Oasis is a little different. I think anyone who's played a show here has probably booked it via Facebook. But we're okay with being a little different. Having said that, booking at oasisgrayslake.com sends it to everybody, everyone on staff. That will help your chances for getting a show. Okay, so what to send via email? On the second page, there's this little blurb here from John at Kickstand Promotions. He started as a small booking agent, essentially, which has turned into now a multi-venue booking company. He's awesome. He's a good dude, and the Oasis has dealt with him from before we were the Oasis, and we put on large-scale outdoor fundraisers called Rock in the Park, and we had some of his bands on there. He's just a really good, honest guy, and the more you deal with booking, you're going to find that he might be the only one. There's not enough high-quality, honest people. But this little blurb is about, in my opinion, is just about quality booking etiquette. And what he essentially is saying is that you are never just booking a show. And that I can't stress this enough. What you're doing is you are establishing a relationship. You're establishing multiple relationships with the agent, because John was just booking a couple bands when we first started dealing with him, but now, like I said, he's booking multiple venues. And if you have a good relationship with someone like that, you will win as you both kind of climb up the ranks in terms of your individual musical communities, whether it's as a musician or dealing with venues. So you are establishing a relationship. It's not a one night stand. That was his phrase. So when you reach out initially, don't just be like, "Yo, bro, put me on Tuesday. I want to open up for that band." That's not going to work. What you're hoping to do is cultivate a relationship, and in theory, that will grow. And that isn't just in booking, in my opinion. That really goes into when you get to the show, the other bands you're meeting, the sound guys, whoever's working at the venue. You don't know where they are going to be in a couple years. I mean, more often than not, if you go to a venue, someone running sound or working the bar or taking ticket stubs at the door, that's probably a musician from another band that you've probably seen. I remember walking into a show downtown, and the guy taking the tickets was one of the guitar players in Pelican, whom I had just seen the week before at a show. I'm like, well then, okay, that's cool. The musical community kind of stays, like the jobs are given to other musicians. So it's wise to always network and develop these relationships. So what you are sending, every agent kind of provided the same info. They're not looking for these long, drawn-out bios. They don't care. They're not looking for graphic PDF, like long PDF, or modified HTML displays for your emails. It doesn't have to be colorful because, like I said, you're trying to develop a relationship. So there's a handful of do's and don'ts here. Short, concise emails stating the dates that the band is available. Links to the music that you have. So in my opinion, you can probably set up the signature of your band, or like your band's email, to kind of have Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever Bandcamp, if that's your thing, and it should be your thing because it's amazing. And then I got the vibe that the one sheet, if you guys are familiar with that term, that is acceptable as well. As long as the initial blurb, friendly, warm email that you send to the booking agent works. The one sheet, in theory, will have 3 or 4 sentence bio, pertinent information. Like, I'm a big fan of for fans of. So using Libria as an example, for fans of Failure, Oceansize, Shiner, Thrice, Hum. So if I see that here, I'm like, oh, not only do I know what they sound like, I know in the ballpark of what other bands I can put them with. So I'm not going to put them with small acoustic solo female singer. I have a pretty good gauge as to what will work. So do not send MP3s. Do not send MP3s. We get emails here for the Oasis where like there's 30 megabytes of all of these MP3s that like here's an example of our music. If you have that music, post it on SoundCloud and send us the link so that way it doesn't crash our inbox because you send tons of stuff. Massive graphics. Like, we don't need all of the pictures that the band has ever taken in the email. So, like, if you took a picture by a bridge or by train tracks, like all the bands seem to do, you don't have to send those. Like, we're good. We've seen them. Impersonal. So, if you say, to whom it may concern, that's not helping your cause, realistically. Do a little work, and you should be able to figure out the first name of the person you're sending it to. Shouldn't be too hard. Weird fonts or colors. Like if you send a black email with neon green font or text, like, yes, I will notice it, but I'll only notice it just long enough to hit delete. So just make sure that I can, and then again, not just me, just make sure that you can read it. Long, wordy emails. If your band bio is 11 pages, no one cares. And if it says something along the lines like, oh, Dan met Chris once upon a time at a show in Lake County, and they realized their music was good, or they had similar musical tastes, and maybe they should play music together. Like, that's how band bios come to the Oasis. People email stuff like that, and it's like, this is not going to help you get a show because it's not pertinent,
Coincidentally, that's all true.
Yeah, that's well, you're also the first people I saw, so. Okay, and then another big one, don't oversell yourself. This is bad because it's going to leave a bad taste in the promoter's mouth. So if you email a venue and say, okay, we're a good band, we're tight, and we have people who go to College of Lake County, so we are absolutely sure that we can draw 60 people to the Oasis. And then you play, and you draw 6. If you didn't say 60, it wouldn't have been a big deal. We're fine with bands, working on it, and they're trying to develop their draw. It's not something that a band has built in immediately. But if you oversell yourself, everyone loses. Everyone loses. So just make sure that you are realistic, and if you feel like if you're going to email venue in Des Plaines and say, hey, we want to get on that show. They're going to say, well, okay, how many people do you think you can bring to Des Plaines? If you think it's your mom's because they're going to be driving you, no big deal. Just say my mom, because she's driving me. And so the honesty will be the best policy for that, without a doubt. So again, real simple. And I wasn't gonna make a form email that you guys could use, because you should develop your own personality. And like I said, a form, if you're trying to build strong relationships with promoters and booking agents, going off of a form email might not be the best way to do it, which is why I didn't do it. Okay, so what do promoters expect from you, your band, before the show? Okay, respond in a timely fashion. Most of these booking agents said that they run into issues where they will get an email from a band wanting on a date. They'll email the band and say, hey, we have this date available. Do you guys want to play it? And they won't hear back for like 4 days. Do you know how many emails promoters get? A lot. So if the promoter has the opportunity to fill the slot, so that way the venue has a guaranteed draw, the show is filled out nicely. The first band to confirm, chances are they're the one that's going on. They're going to get the show. Not necessarily the best band, but usually the first to confirm. So if the guitar player in the band emails back and says, okay, we can definitely play, and then tells the rest of the band, oh, hey, I got this date, and the bass player's like, oh, actually, I've got work. That doesn't reflect well on the band. So it's very important that you really go out of your way to make sure that everyone is contacted, and then you get back to that booking agent as fast as you can. Just a little side note. I don't know how many bands do this, but I'm a really big fan of it. It seems like most people, most bands these days have some sort of smartphone. I'm a big fan of the Facebook secret group. You can have one for the band, so that way the second the guitar player gets that email saying, hey, we have this date available, the guitar player posts on the Facebook secret group that all the band members are attached to and says, hey, next Wednesday, that email gets sent out to everyone. It'll get you the little red notification on Facebook next time you log in. So if you guys aren't doing that, it's a great communication tool. So that way, your bass player can't be like, oh, I didn't get the text. Bass players. Okay, so respond in a timely fashion. And be respectful of the promoter's time. They're juggling, 50 emails an hour. So if you just are constantly sending them emails, you're doing your band a disservice. Just know that every little thing doesn't have to be addressed constantly to a promoter. So like the bass player, everyone's confirmed and everything's good, and then 2 weeks later the bass player is like, oh, I might have this thing. You don't have to email the promoter immediately and be like, hey, just to let you know, our lame bass player might have this thing, and then confirm later one way or the other. Hopefully bass player can work it out because it's been confirmed, and you guys, you're all men of your word, right? So yeah, just again, be respectful. Be willing to play any show that's offered. Like if you are holding out for like the ideal either day or lineup, you are gonna lose opportunities. Initially, when you're trying to make that amazing first impression with a promoter, realize that you are not going to get the greatest show, and the more accommodating you are to their needs, the higher up the ladder you're going to climb in terms of things that they're looking for. So you might have to play a weekday show, if you're hoping like 6 months from now you see that some cool band is coming to the house in DeKalb, which is it's not a house, it's a venue, it's a cool venue, and you're like, man, I want to play on that show. You email today and say, hey, can I get on a show 3 months from now or 2 months from now? I'll play whatever it is that you want me to play. and you do everything that you can to be the coolest band ever and the most gracious and accommodating band. And then you email after that show and say, oh, by the way, I happen to notice that this other band is coming. It would be awesome if we could just hop on that bill and maybe open up. And, you know, our draw in DeKalb, it's 11 people, but we will be the best band you can have. And that chances are you're gonna have a better chance getting on that show as opposed to just emailing and be like, hey man, put me on that bill when that sweet band comes through, because you won't get on there. So promoters are going to be checking that you are all promoting. So if they check your website or Twitter or Facebook or whatever it is that you kids use to promote your shows these days, if those are empty, if the event isn't listed, if you aren't inviting people to the pre-established event page, if you're using Facebook, you are doing your band a disservice. They are checking. They want to see that you're promoting. And bands that take the time to do it on their own and are self-sufficient, that makes all the difference in the world. It really does. Promoters, managers, booking agents, they all notice that. They are all looking for bands that are working hard. The bands that look like they're working hard or are actually working hard are the ones who are going to get further. So chances are, if the promoter has checked that the band is promoting the event, they might even go one step further and search Facebook for the individual members and see that the individual members are also promoting the event. So if the promoter catches that a band member hasn't been promoting the show, it doesn't look good. It really doesn't. Plus, why wouldn't you be promoting a show? You're trying to get people there, and you're trying to build the relationships that we talked about before. You're trying to establish and build and cultivate quality relationships with everyone that you're dealing with. So that's before the show. At the show, what the promoter is looking for, a booking agent. Show up early. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a huge football fan, like massive football fan. So there's something called Lombardi time, Vince Lombardi. So basically, half an hour early is on time. On time is late, and late don't even bother. You know that was Vince Lombardi. That's what Vince Lombardi would tell his players. Couldn't agree more. So show up early, or on time at the latest. Granted, there's always there's circumstances, traffic, snowstorms, any number of things. But if you're just it's like it's time to go, and your bass player's like, oh man, I gotta shower. Just club him and throw him in the van. He's gonna smell bad anyway, says a bass player. Okay, so again about the relationships. Be respectful to everyone there, to all the other bands, even if they are huge jerks. Be respectful. Be nice. It makes all the difference in the world because, like I said, you might not realize that the horrible band of huge jerks that is playing with you, and they're setting up their drums and playing them during your set, but you didn't know this, but the singer for that band actually books downtown at Township, and now what are you going to do? Because you've just broken that bridge. So you don't know who you're dealing with. Just be like kind, nice people that I can tell that you all are. Just I can't stress that enough. Just always put the best foot forward and be the best band representative that you can be. If you leave a venue and you hop on Twitter, even if it's your personal account, and be like, man, I hate driving out here. This town is terrible. Or, boy, you guys should have seen the bands I was playing with tonight because they are the worst bands I've ever seen. If you do that stuff, and people do that stuff because I follow them on Twitter, it's going to get around. It always does. I'm looking at you, Tron. Okay, I was just kidding anyways. So, set up. Bands are looking at this, and we're actually gonna get into this in not this coming month, but in May, we are going to talk about venue etiquette, which is going to be cool. We're actually having a guest speaker. We'll get to that later. Set up your gear off stage, and then also tear your gear down off stage. Like, nothing is worse than seeing a drummer, like, grab a cymbal or like a hardware bag and roll it on stage, and then like start pulling out the hardware slow while talking to someone in the audience and like setting it up. Like, yeah, cut that out. I heard that. Chances are, if you are here tonight, you aren't headlining any sweet venues. So you probably don't have a ton of setup time or like amazing sound checks or anything like that. So I would guess, and it's always safe to assume, that there's about 15 minutes slotted for one band stops playing and one band starts playing, give or take. So the idea is get all of the gear off the stage in 5 minutes, get all of the gear on the stage in 5 minutes, and then have 5 minutes for a sound check or a line check or whatever it is that venue's doing. Just saying it seems like the most insane thing ever. How is that even possible? It's possible because your band got ready while the previous band was setting up and playing. That's all it takes. It's pretty easy. Okay, so here's a big one, and every single promoter and booking agent I talked to noticed this and said, stay to watch the other bands perform. If you just show up, play, try to sell some merch, maybe walk around the room and like literally go to every single person. Dan, buy my CD. Go to the next guy. Chris, buy my CD. And then after you've sold or not sold all the albums, and then you're like, okay, we're done. And you pack it up, and the rest of the band still have to play. Every band will remember that. The promoters remember that. It's disrespectful. That's the reality of it. Granted, there are some situations where it doesn't always work out, and as long as you tell everyone ahead of time and just be like, hey, look, it's a 9-hour drive home. We're probably gonna get started on it, or hey, our rehearsal space is just down the street. Instead of putting the gear in the car when it's 9 degrees, we're just gonna go drop it off. We'll be back. All that stuff goes a long way because, like, again, it's a respect factor. And multiple promoters said, yeah, if we see a band just kind of sneak out early, we're probably not gonna have them back. Additionally, Sam, who runs Phantom Promotions, who was also like the coolest guy and is in a great band called Anesthetic, he said he settles up at the end of the night. He's like, if you want to get paid, you wait. Which, that's a pretty common thing. I don't see too many bands show up, play, and then say, hey, we're going to get out of here. Can we get paid? His philosophy is if they want to get paid, they're going to stay for the whole show. And if they don't, not only are they forfeiting payment, they're on his list of bands who leave early. So, yeah. I used caps lock so that way you guys know that I mean business. Be professional. Just be professional. Okay, things that you shouldn't do. We kind of talked about that. Reply slowly. You're going to miss out. If you don't promote, hey, everyone give him a high five or thank him on the way out because his company is what bought the pizza. Woo! Antioch Towing. Also, again, just super impressive. I've seen people eat pizza before, but not like that. Okay, the only thing worse than not promoting your event that you have is promoting a different one. So if you are playing Friday and you are promoting next Saturday's event instead, oh boy, your promoter is going to know. He's going to see it. Also, something that you shouldn't do is at the end of the night go up to the promoter and be like, you know what, there's a lot of people here tonight. Can we get paid? Like we should get paid. Pay us. That's not going to work. all payment should be discussed before the show. So if you don't say, hey man, we need $30 for gas money or, pizza money or whatever, don't expect it. That's for sure. So just work that out ahead of time. Also, if you say you need like a $30 or a $50 guarantee in your opening email, that's gonna hurt your chances, realistically. Okay, so something that I thought was interesting to ask was, what should a band do after the show? Because I feel like most bands, they see two parts: book the show, play the show. What should you do after the show in terms of keeping and maintaining the relationship with your venue? Something that goes a long way: emailing the promoter just afterwards and say, hey, this was awesome. We really appreciate it. We hope we were what you hoped we would be. Just a simple email. And don't be bothered if they don't respond. It's not important, because they're going to get 40 emails afterwards from the kids saying, with the black email and yellow font saying, book me a show Tuesday, And again, we get those, and most of you probably know we only have shows Friday and Saturday. We'll get those emails like, hey, we're playing Tuesday. Nope. So feel free to ask for feedback. If your promoter was at the event, sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. They see more bands than most people do, because they're constantly booking. Just say, hey, you know what? We're a young band. Do you have any feedback for us? What can we do to be a better band, or be more professional, or improve our odds at booking? There's no harm in asking, and I'm sure all of you guys know this already. The moment you stop your performance and you're tearing down, everyone says that that was so good. You guys were great tonight. This was great. I never do that. Most of you, if you know me, have probably heard me tell you the truth. It's like, dude, you guys were sloppy. You don't benefit from everyone slapping you on the back saying, oh man, you guys, you're so good, because that's kind of like a form response from your audience, because chances are most of your audience. So asking for honest feedback from people who see a lot of bands, that's great. That's invaluable. That is valuable. So in that follow-up email, it's a good time to kind of say, hey, we really enjoyed it, provided that you really enjoyed it, and just be like, we'd like to come back maybe 3 months, 90 days, which is a good rotation if you're going to be playing at a venue. 90 days is a good amount of time to go play other venues and then come back, and you're not oversaturating your market there. Okay, so I probably wouldn't bring it up. I probably wouldn't bring it up unless something went horribly wrong. Bless you. Like if something was really bad, you could say, hey, we had a great time, but just to give you the heads up, this is a snag we ran into, and we thought it would be good for you to know, for other bands who might be coming through your venue. But otherwise, like if you just didn't like it because the promoter set up a terrible show, and the sound was bad, and there was just your mom there, I wouldn't tell them. I would still follow it up and be like, thanks for the show. May I have another? I guess to check my Animal House reference off my list. Excellent. Okay, so here's some just general thoughts. Salute. Okay, let's see here. Something that we always recommend in terms of booking at the Oasis. We won't book a band, who, like, if we try to avoid it at least. If you're going to play a show here, we're looking at what other shows you're playing 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after. Because if you're playing Swing State or a house show or something like that that's within a few miles, everyone loses. Because let's say you are going to draw 50 people, right? It means more to whichever venue if you draw all 50 people to that venue. But if you say, hey, we're playing Oasis tonight and Swing State tomorrow night, if you get 25 at each venue, that's bad. I guarantee you. You know, and we have a pretty fun open relationship with Swing State, and we want to see each other succeed. And I hate the idea that a band that played here took money out of Swing State's pocket because they played 2 shows that were too close. Aloha Falls is another good example. It's just the reality of it. So when you sign, the last cool show I played was at the Metro. Maybe I don't even know. Maybe a year ago. And in the contract, it said you are not playing in Chicago. I think it was 4 weeks on either side of the date. You know, so that means what? Over a 2-month span, we're not allowed to play anywhere in Chicago. I respect that because they know what it takes to maintain a draw and to get the most out of a band. And that shouldn't just be a venue policy. Like the band should think about that. You don't overbook in a location. So like if you play Chicago, the next show you play should not be Chicago. Rockford, Lake County, Kenosha, Milwaukee, Madison, something like that. I always recommend kind of starting at a central location. So if we're going to use the Oasis, you play the Oasis this weekend, and then in 3 weeks, ideally, because you shouldn't be playing shows every 3 weeks anyways. You know, 1 show a month, everyone wins. In my opinion, that's probably a good amount. Even that's can be a lot if it's not spread out too much. So play the Oasis today. So on April 18th, you try to book a show in Chicago with good bands. And then May 18th, you go Milwaukee. Okay, and then June 18th, well, look at that. Timing works out. Come back to the Oasis. And then, or, Swing State or Aloha Falls or whatever it is. But if you just stay in that same area, you're gonna hurt your draw, and that's gonna hurt your relationship with your venues because the venue doesn't want to book you because you've hurt your reputation. My favorite band going these days is the band The Life and Times. I loved that band, and I've seen them an amount of times that I don't feel appropriate telling you because then you'll think less of me. But I've seen them a lot. So, in reality, they will go on like little tours, and they might play Chicago, and then they might play, somewhere in the Lake County, Kenosha area, and then they might play in Milwaukee. And they are my favorite band, and I will not go see all 3 shows. I will pick one of them, and that's my favorite band. So for bands, all of your bands, they're not my favorite bands, because that's Life and Times. If you're playing, 3 times over the course of a 6-week period, and they're all in the area, I'm definitely not going to go to all of them. You just got to make sure that you are planning accordingly and playing like I said, an appropriate amount of shows. Like I said, once a month is a pretty safe number. So, then again, don't oversaturate your band and your brand. So that's overplaying, that's over promoting. That hurts almost as much as under promoting, because if you invite someone, because we all know the code to go on Facebook and invite your entire friends list instead of just selecting each person. So if I get multiple invites to the same event by every member in that band, I'm also mean, so I'm probably not going to go out of principle. But you're hurting the the reputation for your band, because now maybe that person's going to click the ignore invites from James, ignore invites from Chris. That's just reality. Okay. So this is another one that I want to talk about because I feel like it's slowly but surely becoming more of a thing. Pre-sale tickets. They're bad. Normally they are bad. That sometimes there's a very limited opportunity to where you might be able to get on a show that is an awesome show and requires pre-sale tickets. But otherwise, you should just avoid them. On this last page here, Sam from Phantom Promotions had a cool little blurb about this. And the first paragraph is essentially saying, you know, if you want to get on a show that's cool and realistically there's no reason you should be on that bill, a venue might roll the dice and say, okay, look, if you can sell 100 tickets, you can get on this event. And that has its place. That's not terrible if that's the case, where it's like a special event or a cool opportunity to open up for a bigger band. But even then, I'm hesitant. Like if a band member said, "Hey man, we could sell 100. If we sell 100 tickets, we could get on this event," I would complain about it for a few days before I waged an opinion one way or the other. But an interesting, the second paragraph I thought was pretty interesting. He's essentially saying that some promoters for venues, the venues will give these promoters tickets. Like, hey, here's 100 tickets, and the promoter, gets $100. Or, the promoter would pay the venue $100 for 100 tickets, and then the promoter will then say, okay, band, you have to sell 100 tickets, and they're $10 a piece. And then the promoter is merely pocketing the $9 per ticket that you spent the time working on. So consider that. The next time a promoter says, hey guys, we need you to sell 50 pre-sale tickets, you might just be working really hard to make him money, and see if that show still sounds like a good idea. Again, I'm not a big fan of the pre-sale tickets. We had a band email the Oasis and say, hey guys, can we do pre-sale tickets for our show at the Oasis? And I passed out, and when I woke up, I was just like, well, this actually happened. Someone is willing to do pre-sale tickets, like they want to. Justin, my good, well-hatted friend over here, he once told me that bands have a finite number of requests that they can have filled from their friends and their fans. And do you want to waste it on selling a pre-sale ticket or voting for an online battle of the bands that doesn't count anyways? You should save that for when it counts. Cash that in for when you get a decent, like maybe a decent show with a decent band at a decent venue. And you say, guys, we need you to come. We need you to come. And people are going to be like, dude, I just bought that pre-sale ticket for that lame venue, last month. Why am I going to come to this one? So, you use your wishes wisely with your fans and friends. Okay, this is a big one. Bullet point number 3. Play shows at venues that other bands that you like play at. Okay, whether it's local bands that you enjoy or cooler bands that may be touring and coming through. A good example, and I am not trying to knock this venue at all because it's a cool club, and I would go there to hang out just because I was in the city and it's a cool club. But the reality of their reputation changes it. The Elbow Room in Chicago. It's a cool club. It has a nice little hangout area upstairs, and it has what has been it's transformed into a decent little stage downstairs. But in reality, no bands that you are going to want to go see are going to tour through Chicago and say we're playing Elbow Room, because it's a bar. I mean, realistically, that's what it is. So, if a band can draw 100 or 200 people on tour, they're probably going to play like Township, which is also a bar, but is represented by a very well-known promotions company called MP Shows, which has been around forever. They were like the main fireside booking company. Brian Peterson, cool dude. So look at the venue that you are about to play and just be like, this might not be the best representation for us and our fans. Now, granted, I'm not saying like every show has to be like, this awesome band I really liked once played here, so we can play here. It doesn't have to always be like that. And like I said, I always understand that there's going to be certain special occasions, but just be aware that if you are playing some random bar in some random town, you might not be getting as much out of it for the band as you would have hoped. That's just the truth of it. So let's see here. Yeah, you'll have better results if you hop on a show with like-minded bands than just emailing a venue and saying, hey, can we get on just, whatever show you have, just put us there. You might have to do that at first, like I said, to establish the relationship. Be willing to play anything initially, like I said, to just kind of cultivate the back and forth with the promoter and the venue so they know who you are and they know that you're a real band. But after that, just hop on shows with other like-minded bands. Because if you're constantly just showing up to a venue and playing with 4 bands you've never heard of, you might slowly be building your fan base, but if like I said, you're a heavier band and you're playing with pop punkers or acoustic female solo artist, you didn't do anything. And sadly, I'm speaking from experience. My old band may or may not have driven a long way to play at a crappy bar. We were a loud rock band, and the opening act was a solo acoustic female singer. And the owner of the venue came up and is like, you guys are too loud, turn it down. And we turned it down a lot, but obviously the drummer can't turn down, drummers. The guy comes back and is like, I told you to turn it down, get off the stage. It's like, well, we just drove a long way to play here. We were invited to play here. It's, granted, this was kind of before the internet, so we couldn't do the appropriate research that was required that you can do now with ease. But that's like I said, just make sure that you're kind of doing the legwork to ensure that you are playing with like-minded bands, because that's the fastest way that you're going to build your audience. And you might have to play a couple shows at first, like I said, just to establish that relationship. Okay, so look at what bands a promoter will work with. Okay, something that kind of makes me nervous, and not necessarily for the Oasis, because that's what the Oasis is. But if you find a promoter who's dealing primarily with younger bands, that to me is an immediate red flag, because young bands make mistakes, and promoters, are often there to take advantage of it, like selling pre-sale tickets, things like that. So if you find a promoter who's dealing with a lot of young bands, just be leery of what processes are going on. But also, if you see a promoter who only deals with acoustic acts but really loves your grindcore band and thinks he can help you out, kind of be aware and be leery. Like when you show up and it's a coffee house, and you're like, should have saw that coming. Just kind of do a little legwork and look into the types of shows that your promoter's putting together before you approach them or before you confirm an event. Okay, playing bars. Now, not all of you are 21. And I bet there's some of you who have sweet beards that aren't 21, and I'm jealous of your skill set because I can't grow a beard to save my life. But playing bars, if you play a handful of bars, you are a bar band, and then you want to get on a good bill in Chicago. Those venues aren't really going to want you because you are a bar band. They want people who are coming out to see music and not to be the band who's playing in the background while a bunch of people are enjoying bar activities. So I've known a handful of local bands who, if they played better shows, they would have had better success. But there's something there's something that can be appealing to playing at a bar where people, maybe 80 people show up to this bar regardless of music. So then you get on stage and it's like, oh, there's 80 people here that we can play our music at. They don't care. Chances are they're not listening. And if you start playing and they walk to the other end of the bar, you've wasted your time getting out there and playing the show. And also, if you are an all ages band or under 21 band and you happen to get a show at a bar, what were you thinking? Is your fan base going to be able to go out? Probably not. So just be aware of that. Okay. Yeah. If you guys didn't know this, the band that the first real band that I got in, they were all 25, I think, and I was 17 or 18, and my parents would have to go to the shows with me to make sure I could get in when we played bars. Yeah. Okay, and in a roundabout sort of way, that's why I'm on the board for the Oasis, to make sure that young kids can have a place to play when they're not 21. I want to make sure that happens. Okay, all-day VFW shows. Chances are you've probably played them and you already know that they suck. If you... Even if they're run well, no one wants to be blasted with music for 9 hours. And that's assuming they're run well. If they're not run well, no one wants to be blasted with music for 11 hours or 14 hours. It's just not a good way to promote your brand, because chances are you're playing a shorter set because there's 500 bands. People are constantly coming and going. I feel like there's nothing to gain by playing these types of events. I heard there was one in the area not long ago, and I haven't heard a whole lot of positive feedback from the bands themselves in terms of what it was like to have to play, an all-day VFW event. It's taxing on everyone. Okay. Next up on bullet points, everything you do in and around the venue will reflect whether or not you're coming back. So if you're not inside, but you're outside horsing around and you dent someone's car, or you get caught with stuff you're not supposed to get caught with outside of the venue, people know that. They don't want that. They don't want you coming back with that. And that's... especially at our level, that's why a lot of venues seem to get shut down. Was it the Libertyville Civic Center? Someone's running around with a ninja sword. A ninja sword! It's... And after that, a window was broken and people were scared because of a ninja sword. And Libertyville Civic Center said, you know what? We don't want to do this anymore. No more bands. Cross one venue off the list, which is too bad, because that was a cool place. When they had shows on a regular basis, they had developed a pretty good reputation, minus the ninja sword. Okay, so the 3 Ps: professional, pleasant, and persistent. If you are constantly sending emails, but each email, the tone of it is kind of like getting more frustrated that the booking agent isn't as responsive as you had hoped, or isn't pulling through and giving you the gigs that you wanted, they're going to see that. They're dealing with a ton of bands. So if you are persistent, but you are nice the whole time and totally professional, you're going to be just fine. But if you're just like, hey, dude, I've already emailed you 11 times. I wanted to get on this show, and now there's not enough time to get on this show. What are you hoping to accomplish? If you're hoping to not play with that promoter, nailed it, sadly. Okay, again, we talked about this one. Don't oversaturate your markets, and that is both in person and online. Don't, I kind of even talked about this, don't just network with, don't be like the professional guy. Just like, oh, here's a CD. I was hoping to trade this CD with your band for one of your CDs in case we can perhaps network a show in the future. Just be cool. Just like I said, you're establishing relationships, and it goes a long way. I did not know Justin before I started playing music locally and having my parents escort me to shows. But I met him out playing shows, and he's one of my best friends in the world. So, it's cool. Network and be friendly and like develop and cultivate relationships. Okay, this is a big one, and this isn't specific to booking agents. It's specific to any music professional. They want to see that you are self-sufficient. Okay? If you're a new band and you email and just be like, hey, we have 11 songs, we're totally awesome, but we're having trouble getting gigs, you should definitely just start booking us all the time. And the booking agent at the Metro is going to be like, what are you talking about? No, just go play the Oasis for 3 years, and then you get back to us, because we're like the AAA for bands. College football. It's you have to show that you are self-sufficient. Managers and booking agents and whoever, record labels, they want to see that you are going out, you've established a fan base on your own, you are playing shows on your own, you are booking maybe even weekend tours on your own. All of that stuff gives the impression that you are hardworking, you are self-sufficient, and you aren't asking for help or handouts on your own. You're doing it on your own. It makes all the difference in the world, and that makes you more likely to get booked at a future event. Okay, something that I thought was wonderful that all the booking agents all referenced. A band's personality has more impact than their draw. So if a band draws 50 people and are jerks, they're not being invited back. If a band draws 0 people, but we're just like the nicest, most kind, gracious people, they're getting another show, because draw fluctuates. The quality of human does not. Just be nice to your promoter and your staff, and it makes a big difference. It goes a long way. Just another lame thought: Battle of the Bands are not shows. Do not play them. They're competitions, and all of the players in the game lose. It's the only thing I've ever seen where every player in the game loses, and the people who win are the venues or the the promoters if they're doing pre-sale tickets. And I'm guessing they are, because that will probably impact whether or not you win, in quotations. Which is unfortunate, because what I'm finding is that a really cool club in Chicago called Reggie's, if you guys have tried lately to get a decent show there. First off, Reggie's is one of the few venues in Chicago that doesn't have an email address. You have to go through their online form, which I thought was interesting, because it's totally faceless. There's no relationship being established, that kind of bummed me out. But second, when you hear back from the venue at Reggie's, it seems like most bands who are communicating with them are being recommended, like, hey, we're actually all booked up, but what we recommend is hop on this Battle of the Bands that we're doing. We'll be able to check you out that way, and then we can put you on a show later. And it would appear that every band that I have talked to, which is a lot, who have tried to book at Reggie's, is kind of being filtered or funneled through their Battle of the Bands system. And I don't even think it's them who is putting on the Battle of the Band events. I feel like it's an independent booking company. But all Battle of the Bands are lame, and there's a reason the Oasis has never done it, because, like I said, all of the players in the game lose. It's so frustrating.
Same goes for online voting.
Oh yeah, online voting contests suck too. Like, you guys, just to let you know, you are not going to play Warped Tour. I don't care what Ernie Ball tells you. You aren't going to play Warped Tour, even if you get a lot of votes. You heard Dean himself if you guys weren't here, Dean from Chevelle was up here talking a little bit ago about how bands are picked a lot of times for these events, and online voting is rarely a factor. And if it's a factor, do you really want to play? Holy cow! Not me. So we kind of talked about the pre-sale tickets. What I put on here, I was gonna list out every venue and promoter and contact, but there's no value in that to me because it's always changing. It's always changing. So what I did is I put a list of a few things that I thought are cool, at least for the Chicago area. Indie on the Move is without a doubt the best resource of venues for the country. It's all rated by other bands. You have contact information. It's just spectacular. So if you're looking for shows, that's a great place to start. If they don't have what you're looking for, Do DIY is just a collection of DIY spaces, because not every venue is a venue. Sometimes, I think it was sometime last year, I played in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, which is a ways up there, and it's snowy, and we drove downtown, and there's no cars, there's nothing, and we're like, oh, we're playing above that bike shop. I was like, oh, good. I'm glad I drove 3 hours for this. So we kind of go through a bunch of hallways and staircases and all this stuff, and we go upstairs, and it's this room not unlike the Oasis, but with taller ceilings, and we walk in, and there's 200 people, and the wall is lined with snacks that a bunch of people made, and the other wall is lined with art, and primarily all posters of touring bands. There's an artist who works out of there and does amazing band flyers, some of which I had seen before and considered buying because they're that awesome. And they had a stage. It was taller, but less PA, which was fine because we're an acoustic, folksy band anyways. And this isn't a venue. It's not something you can just look up on Indie on the Move and say oh, we need to play that place. This is just something that someone put some elbow grease into and turned into a space for a show that night. And it was incredible, and I had an absolute blast. And it was all cool bands. I thought the band I was playing in was pretty cool. And the band that played right after us was this band called Masked Intruder, which is really cool. They wear these ski masks, and they're awesome. And it's just above a bike shop, So Do DIY. You can find some amazingly cool independent spaces on there. And then music venues list. Just another cool resource. Don't pay for contact lists. I figured I'd throw that out there. You're going to find a lot of online resources that say, oh, we have the best industry contacts for $39.95. And realistically, if you can't find what you're looking for on the 3 that I gave you, don't keep looking. It's not worth it. There used to be this thing called the it's a decade old. I don't know if they still have it. Was it the Almanac, the Musician's Almanac or Musician's Atlas, which was 40, probably more than that, 100 pages of just contact after contact after contact for colleges and all this stuff. And I remember walking through Borders and I saw this. I'm like, oh my God, this thing is solid gold. I will gladly pay the $39.95 for this collection of contacts. And I took it home and I started calling them. I'm like, hey, I'm looking for Eric at this college. I was hoping to send him the demo CD that I had, because once upon a time bands use CDs. And I was hoping to, set up dude, Eric graduated. He doesn't work here anymore. Okay, can I send my CD? No. So I was really disappointed. So my thinking, because like I said, I've made all the mistakes that you guys are about to do. So if you can just kind of follow my lead. So because what I did is I'm like, oh man, this thing sucks. I'll get next year's because it's going to have all of the updated info.